Welcome to Ruskin Cave, now a popular place for weddings, but man, there's a lot of history here. Going back to 8000 BC, first inhabited by mound dwellers, and then by the Chickasaw Indians, who called it the Great Cave.
This cave has been used prehistorically, and then people have found a way to use this cave all up through the Industrial Revolution.
Former State Senator Doug Jackson and the Jackson Foundation now own and operate the cave. He told us just how far back in time evidence of man's influence in this cave and others in the area has been found.
I've got 2 hatchet heads, and I took it to my Senate office in Nashville, and I called the state archaeologist. I said, would you come over and look at these? The Chickasaws used to live there. Did they make those? He goes, no, they're prehistoric. And I said, well, what does that mean? And he said, these are 5,000 to 8,000 BC.
Fast forwarding to the 1800s, people utilized the cave and a creek that runs through it in a number of ways.
Pre-Civil War, there was a big grist mill at the very mouth of the cave. They built a lake. They raised the water level up, and they built a flume that came out of the lake to the grist mill. And then the grist mill would grind the flour, and they would farm the valley.
In the late 1800s, a utopian socialist colony from Europe purchased the property and the cave. The so-called Ruskinite socialist experiment ultimately didn't work out, but during the time they were there, they were very industrious.
The Ruskinites built a cannery right at the mouth of the cave, and if you go on the internet, you'll see photos of their cannery and the Ruskinites working. So they would bring in their produce, they would can their produce, and then they would store in the cave.
I'm about 100 yards inside the cave, and check this out. On either side of me, rails made out of white oak, they believe back in the 1800s. You see, they used to store their produce in ice back in the cave where it's cooler. There's even a theory that the Confederates built this during the Civil War, and they stored ammunition back in the cave as well. And now to modern times. Ruskin Cave has become one of the more popular places in the area for a wedding.
As you notice, when we walk into the cave here, you can feel a big change in the temperature from outside to inside. Yes, sir. So it cools off, and everybody's really happy to have the cooler weather and for summertime weddings. It's a great dance floor. It's a great area for catering to get right up in here. We allow food trucks to come in. We have weddings on the stage. Sometimes the people decide to get married at this end of the cave so that this beautiful landscape is the backdrop. So we have the luxury of having the natural air conditioning as well as the huge space for weddings and for receptions and parties.
If you want to learn more about Ruskin Cave and the beautiful grounds surrounding it, or maybe you want to get married there, see the link provided here on WKRN.com.